all across this great nation of ours, there's an issue that divides our people. Every 17 minutes, somewhere in America, another family's lives are turned upside down by this deep controversy. Fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, husbands and wives, divided by a lack of understanding and compromise. What is this polarizing topic, ripping families apart and crippling relationships? Is the 1911 still relevant? Some say the 1911 is for old dudes that think the 45 ACP is the last cartridge ever invented. Others say between the many sizes and calibers available today, there is a 1911 for everyone. What will it take to bring our country back together? Is there a solution to this conflict? Tonight, we aim to end the animosity and put this debate to bed for good. Hey, what's up, daring and delightful people of YouTube and all over the internet? Welcome back to the Walther Lover channel, a place where we talk about gun and shooting topics. We do gun reviews, gear reviews, talk about competitive shooting, and my love of Walther firearms. Thanks for stopping by. So, the 1911. The debate rages on. Why is this thing still a debate? I don't know. The whole point of this is the 1911 still relevant. I'm going to give you my take on it right at the beginning of this video. Heck yeah, it's still relevant. And you want to know why? Because it's a gun. And it changed history. And it changed guns. And it's amazing. And it's still fun to shoot. And technology is taking it lots of places anyway. Yes, the 1911 is still relevant. So let's talk about it for a second. I'm not going to give you a whole history lesson on the 1911. There's tons of information out there to get the whole history. To sum it all up, turn of the century, the U.S. military wanted to replace revolvers. Probably a good idea, because using revolvers today would seem silly, right? So they wanted to replace the revolver. They put all the information, the specs out there. Here's what we're looking for. A bunch of companies try it out. John Moses Browning decided, hey man, I'm going to pull the trigger. Ha, you see what I did there, pull the trigger. Anyway, John Moses Browning decides he's got an idea. He puts it out there. They put these guns through trials, and then boom, John Moses Browning wins the contract. And the 1911 is born. Now, what year was that? Come on, boys and girls, you can figure this out. 1911, there you go. Right, very smart. I knew we had a smart audience. So in 1911, this thing is dubbed 1911, and there you go. A couple years later, there were some revisions, M1911 1A, I believe, or A1. Anyway, you can look up the history. Point is, the gun's been around since 1911. Now, some people will say, man, that's an old gun, so why would that still be relevant? You all know, as well as I do, this thing has gone through transformation after transformation over the years. This thing is now available in a multitude of sizes, calibers. There's something for everybody in the 1911 world. From the little micro carry compact 1911 variants, the commander, the officers, you've got 9mm, 22, 38 super. There's a weird one. You probably don't hear that a lot, but there's 38 super. There's 40, 45, 10mm. I mentioned 9mm. If you can imagine it, somebody has put it in a 1911, and that's pretty cool. And that means that there's a 1911 for everybody. So why is this such a debate? Well, for me, it started with one of the youngins that I hang around was making fun of me, quite frankly. And that's okay. People can make fun of me. I can take it because of my love of 1911s. And I was like, hey, man, what is it you don't like about the 1911? That thing's for old men, dude. Ha ha ha. You're an old guy. You like the 1911. Ha ha ha. And I was like, hey, man, how many times have you shot it? Well, I've never shot one. Well, that's just silly. So let's try one out. So we go to the range. We put him on a 9mm commander size 1911. He gets up there, takes a few shots, and goes, hey, man, this is a little different than I thought it was going to be. Ding. Of course it is. The gun is sweet, especially in that size and caliber. That is a super fun gun to take some shots with. So that's how this whole thing came to be. And then we got into a whole discussion about the 1911 and relevancy and all that kind of stuff. And I don't really understand. I've watched a lot of videos and I've heard people talk about it, and I've heard a lot of youngins kind of making fun of the old guy with the 1911 on. Say, oh, look at that old guy. And they have nicknames for him, and I'm not going to repeat those because it's not cool, man. We don't have to make fun of people. Come on, dude. We're better than that. Anyway, they make fun of these folks with the 1911, and I never really understood it because it's still a super cool gun. And I mentioned, and we were looking at pictures of some very cool 1911 variants. There is literally something for everybody. And I believe that if somebody who loves guns or even a mild enthusiast or hobbyist gets to shoot a 1911 if they never have, they're probably going to find something about it that they really like. You get that mechanical feel with today's standards, today's advances in machining. These guns are phenomenal, and if you haven't tried one, you've got to do that. If you don't have any way to, call me and we'll go to the range and I'll let you try them in different caliber and we'll have some fun. I'm telling you, the 1911 is still relevant. Now, who's it for? Are you going to carry a full size 1911 all day? Probably not. I don't. There's people out there that do it, absolutely. But I'm not strapping a 9-pound gun to my waist and walking around all the time, pull my pants down. It's silly. So I don't want to do that. But there are plenty of people that do, and man, we should respect those folks. They love that gun, and that's what they carry. And I think that is super cool. Now, of course, technology's come a long way, and even for an old feller like me, I love technology. I love to embrace the new things and the excitement. We wouldn't have those new things if it weren't for historic firearms like the 1911. And the fact that this thing is stuck around when so many other guns that were innovative in their time aren't around today. That really says something about what that gun is. Of course, I love the technology. I love a polymer frame striker fire gun as much as the rest of the world does. I love the feel of the crisp single action triggers that we have on some of the competition guns and stuff like that. But guess what? Guess where it came from? They probably got the idea from the 1911. As a matter of fact, the 1911 has evolved so much over the years. Now we have the 2011, which are commonly used in competition. If you've been around matches, been around any shooting competitions, you've probably seen the 2011 and you've probably seen what they can do in the hands of a good shooter. These things are amazing little machines. Now, of course, the technology is amazing. And for our law enforcement brothers and sisters and our active duty brothers and sisters, do we want them going into combat with a 1911 these days? Probably not, except for isolated cases. Although the 1911 still rides on the hip of law enforcement and military folks all around the world, we want our folks that are put into tough situations to have the tools that are best going to serve them. Obviously, an increased capacity, easier to carry, lighter, all of that stuff makes sense. We want them to be prepared. So I get why the technology has advanced and these guns have moved forward, and we need to put the right tools in the hands of the operators so they can take care of business. Completely understand that. And I embrace all of the new technology. But there are some cases to be made for technology not always being the be all end all. And hey, man, if it's not modern, dude, I don't want to play with it. Hear me out on this one. Okay. Maybe you are a car guy or gal like I am. Love cars, big obsession with cars, similar to guns. So let's just say you're a Corvette enthusiast. I'm not a Corvette enthusiast necessarily, but I love those cars because how do you not love those cars if you love cars? So you're a Corvette enthusiast. The new Corvette has come out, right? Hopefully everyone has seen this thing. An amazing technological wonder. Mid-engine, just completely different than the Corvette ever was. And if you get your hands on one or you own one and you're driving one, it's an amazing experience and you're all about the technology in that car, right? If somebody came to you and said, hey man, you want to take this thing for a spin, and they've got a late 50s, early 60s Corvette, tell me you don't want to drive that car. Of course you want to drive that car because it's awesome. No different than the 1911, right? The 1911. You want to take one of those old guns for a spin because it's awesome, right? That's what I'm talking about. Now, here's another example. Technology has come so far that we have devices in our home that cook with radiation. Radiation. We put these big boxes in our house that cook food with radiation. That's right. We all love the microwave oven. And guess what else we have? We fry stuff now with hot air. Come on, man. We fry stuff with hot air. That's how far cooking has come. Now, if you or somebody you know is a hardcore cook or chef and they love to cook and they know anything about steak, and you say, hey man, I want a steak. Do you think they're using the technological wonder of the microwave or the air fryer? No. What are they going to grab? The cast iron skillet. What? Cast iron skillet been around for 100 years. I don't know how I don't know how long we've been cooking on cast iron, but it's probably a really long time. As a matter of fact, some of those cast iron skillets in your home or my home or somebody's home, maybe a family heirloom that's been passed down and down and down, and people are still cooking with it. Now, it's kind of gross, really, because they're seasoned, right? Which means they have a bunch of crap on them, 50 years of crap, but that's okay. A good cook makes an amazing steak with a cast iron skillet, even though all this technology is available to them. So could the 1911 be the cast iron skillet of the gun world? Perhaps. So I believe that 1911 is still super duper, absolutely relevant in today's world. If you have not taken a 1911 for a test drive, please go do that. You're going to enjoy it. I promise. You may not want to own one. It may not be for you. You may not want to carry around this big brick on. I completely understand all that stuff. But why are we still arguing about the relevancy of a gun that changed our entire world? Talk to an old man about it. They loved it. Oh, it served in multiple wars and blah blah blah. And I know that's an old school argument, but it is a fact, and it did. So that's pretty darn cool. So there you have it, the 1911, the cast iron skillet of guns. Now, here's what could be interesting. Think about the future for a minute, right? And I don't know how old you are watching this video, but let's just say 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50 years from now, you may be helping your child or grandchild qualify with their Laser Max Space Gun 2000 for their next mission to Mars, right? So you're at the range and they're qualifying with the Laser Max Space Gun 2000, and you're helping them understand the basic fundamentals of lasership or marksmanship. And in that whole time, you're there helping them qualify with their trip to for their trip to Mars with their laser gun. The whole time they're making fun of you and your beloved Glock, which at that point is going to be almost as old as the 1911. So, in summary, the 1911 is still relevant, and go easy on the old fellers like me that love a 1911. Hey man, if you see a dude walking around with a 1911, embrace that guy. Maybe not physically because it is weird and he's got a gun. So maybe you don't want to touch him or anything, but he's part of our community. He loves what he loves. And someday that polymer striker fired gun that you may love today could be the next 1911 of several generations from now. And somebody is making fun of you about it. So there you go. The 1911 is irrelevant. Abso-friggin-lutely. Love to hear your comments. So let me know what you think. That's all I have for you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. I'll wait a second. Thank you. I heard the click. If you haven't already, please, 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 please hit the subscribe button. And yes, I'm begging and pleading for your sympathy, but I don't mind because it means that much to me. And a lot of folks have already done it. And I really appreciate the support, folks. If you didn't like this video, hit me up with some, I'm sorry, but please hit me up with some comments to let me know why. Maybe we can make some stuff better, get you back, have some fun, have some discussion, talk about some gun stuff that we all love, support each other, and enjoy this journey that we're all on together. So there you have it, folks. Thank you again. I'll see everybody real soon, and hug a 1911 whenever you get a chance. Thanks. See ya.